Hello and welcome to the Writing Community Chat Show. My name is Chris and I am here with Ruth, who is sat right next to me here. And of course, some of you that are following the show will know that I'm currently out in France walking the Frontline Walk, which is exactly why these shows are airing. And Veterans Awareness Week is what I'm kind of calling this. And it's a great platform to show things that are going on in the veteran community. And this is a brilliant example of some of the fantastic charity work that's happening. So hello, Ruth. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
Hello, everybody. Hiya, Chris. Thank you so much for having me on your fantastic show. I'm doing great here. Thank you.
Fantastic. Again, thank you for joining me. It's great to chat to you. And obviously, behind the scenes, I know some of the stuff that's been going on with you and some of the charity work you're doing. So this is a fantastic way to explore that and to get some real some feedback, possibly from the audience that may watch this or listen to it on the podcast, and of course for you to announce kind of what's going on in your world. So generally, apart from that side of it, Ruth, how have you been? What's going on?
What's going on? Well, I've been extremely busy. I've started with Fighting with Pride, which is the LGBT plus military charity. And I've been in position now for 4 months. So
Okay.
I've had the great pleasure of going around Armed Forces days, veterans road shows, and really starting to network and to get to know people. I've had a
Wow.
fantastic time already so far.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting, quite interesting. But of course, 4 months into the charity, that's kind of a new role for you then. So are you finding it kind of something that's very exciting, or are you a bit daunted by the task? How have you found it so far?
I think for myself, for what Fighting with Pride is doing, it was something that was extremely close to my heart.
Hmm.
So when I applied for the job role, it was something that I could bring the lived experience to.
Yeah.
Fighting with Pride was set up uh, 2 years ago. And I know you've got the book there as well. Fighting with Pride was a book that came out 2 years ago.
Hmm.
And Craig Jones and Caroline Page actually put this book together. It's 10 stories of people who lived through what was known as the gay ban. So for those of you that aren't aware of that, up until 2000, if you were found to be gay in the forces, you would have been dishonorably discharged.
Yeah.
So what that meant was that your medals were taken from you. You wouldn't have any pension. That was gone. That would be on your record then that you were dishonorably discharged. Some people from the military actually went to prison. Some had medical examinations that should never have happened. And all of a sudden, one day you were in the military, the next you were gone. You were
Hmm.
just discarded. So when they put this book together, they realized that there was nothing in place for these veterans. So after 20 years of the gay ban being lifted, they set up Fighting with Pride. And in fact, Caroline is on the back there. Caroline started her transgender journey in the RAF in 1999. Now, that was before the
Yeah.
ban was lifted. So she got a lot of support there and she remained in the RAF. So we've got two fantastic CEOs, Craig, who was in the Navy and continued to serve after the ban was lifted, and Caroline Page.
Hmm.
So Fighting with Pride is such an important charity because for those veterans that have been left behind, for those of you that have formed part of the military, you know that we don't leave anybody behind. But actually, these veterans, myself included, we were left behind,
Yeah.
and nothing has been done at all.
I think one of the biggest shocks of that story is the fact that, as a serviceman, experienced that in my life as well as and yourself, the connection you get and the bondage between your fellow service people to then be cast out is just an insane sort of idea in my mind that could even happen. But the fact that militaries were medals were stripped and pensions removed is it's an incredible thing to try and comprehend, if that makes sense. And the fact that even though it's as recent as 20 years ago, it seems mad that it was only 20 years ago that this was kind of addressed.
Well, it was the law was changed, and it wasn't changed by the MOD actually initially.
Mm.
It was four people known as the rank outsiders that actually went to the European Court of Human Rights, and that's what actually got the law changed. So I was speaking to one lady last week. I went to speak to Safa, and she was WRAC, and she said in 2000, in January 2000, they were all called on the parade square, and it was announced it's okay to be gay, dismissed, and that was it. And she was like, "What?" You know,
Wow.
it was that type of a thing. So it, we have veterans that are still recovering, who have never been able to move on with their lives because of the
Mm.
shame that they were made to feel as well. Um,
Um,
I was actually one of those people as well. I was seeing somebody in Northern Ireland, and we kept it. We made sure we weren't seen together. It's just like sneaking around all the time.
yeah.
And if you played hockey and you had short hair, then obviously you were gay, so you were seen as fair game then. So one day I remember coming back to my room, and it had been totally ransacked, all my papers taken out, cuddly toys. At the time, the cassettes,
Mm.
all those sort of things, because there was a love cassette, so that was obviously good evidence there then. Um, and I got dragged away, and I literally got dragged away, and I was taken in for what I can only describe as an interrogation, with lights shone in my face and everything else, to try to get me to admit that I was gay.
Mm.
It was an horrific time. And you mentioned about people being bonded together. If all of a sudden you're getting investigated, your group of friends just goes, because they don't want to be involved in that process either. So the
Wow.
isolation and mental health is absolutely um, paramount, as in how it affects you.
Yeah, definitely. That is it's traumatic experience. One of the members of the audience, Brandon, put a question before the show, and that was, "Do you help with psychological issues that might have been caused?" And clearly, with events like that, there will be. So, do you know if the charity or how they address kind of people that might have these sort of trauma issues or mental aspects that need addressing as well?
Yes, of course. I think the fact is that because we're a lived experience organisation, everybody that's involved and our veteran community caseworkers. I'm the veteran community caseworker for Wales. We've all had those experiences and an understanding. And I think when you get veterans together, there's always that close bonding anyway. But for
Mm.
veterans who've been through what they've been through, there's that extra close bonding, because sometimes they don't even have to say anything. So we work with a lot of other agencies as well, some fantastic military charities. But what we have had funding for, and very recently, was we went to Llanberis in Snowdonia for a week of adventure training. So 8 veterans who had been dishonourably discharged were brought together, and it was a wonderful experience to be all together and enjoying the outdoors, meals together, going out together. And one lady actually said it was one of the first times for a while that she hadn't had any negative thoughts.
Wow.
So when we're looking at 20 years worth,
Yeah.
it's incredible. So Fighting with Pride understands all this, and we have other events coming up as well. We're looking to march at the Cenotaph again this year. And last year, Fighting with Pride marched as Fighting with Pride. So even though people that would identify as LGBT and felt that they could march, even though the military had thrown them to one side, you can still march with their regiments, whoever they wish to march with. But to have Fighting with Pride as a separate organisation was a massive step forward. And I'm very privileged to be doing that myself this year. So I'm looking forward to that very much.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's fantastic to see that, the development of a charity can have such impact on not just a sort of a parade, but also the individual themselves so much. To negative thoughts is obviously something a lot of people who've gone through these sort of traumatic experiences will relive over and over. So to take that away and replace with positive experiences is such a valuable thing to do. So it sounds like they're doing a fantastic job, and of course, it seems like it's only going to grow onwards.
Yeah, definitely. This is something that we've had so much feedback from.
Mm,
I've recently been going out to give a lot of presentations, and one retired colonel actually said, he'd served 30 years, and he actually said, I feel ashamed that I wasn't aware that this sort of treatment of human beings within my regiment was going on. And he
mm,
called it, he was just harrowed by the actual stories. And it just makes people think. You only have to speak to younger people, and they go, "What do you mean you can't be gay if you when you're in the forces?" Because it just doesn't seem to ring true.
mm.
And yes, they say it's 22 years ago, and Fighting with Pride has been pushing everything for the last 2 years, and I'm absolutely humbled and privileged to be able to be part of that absolutely fantastic team that is making that difference
Yeah,
every day.
amazing. Do you think that in the modern society, even with the wider acceptance now, that there may be people still going through a kind of similar experience in the modern society of the forces?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I had one example. I was at Cardiff Pride, and there was a young serving soldier. He's in his early 20s. He actually came
Mm,
and spoke to me, and he's got my details and everything, because we also support veterans who are serving now as well as their families. And he did say, he said, "Do you know what?" He said, "I still get called faggot." And even though the forces have made a lot of strides forward, and I'm not here to break that down,
yeah,
unfortunately, in any society, you will still have I don't know, I suppose that hateful uh, wording that still goes around, that people still think it's funny, or they don't think it hurts, and still use it.
mm.
I
Yes,
think
I can. Go on. Sorry.
Okay, no, it's fine. I think, I mean, we always had that rhyme when we were in the playground. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Absolute rubbish. This is what sticks. And if it's not challenged, people think it's part of the culture and they can still say it.
Yeah.
So I think we've made a lot of good strides. I'm certainly not saying that we haven't, but in any society, there's still a lot more work to be get a lot more work to be done. But it's also recognised by
Yeah.
the military as well, and they've put a lot in place.
So obviously looked around the website for Fighting with Pride, which you can access right now at www.fightingwithpride.org.uk. And on there's a news section, and that states that the government have announced independent review, and the government's LGBT Veterans Independent Review is an opportunity to remember a difficult past and challenge the future of all LGBT plus veterans, serving personnel and their families. So kind of what we touched on there with current serving soldiers and other military personnel, that it is a challenge for the government to sort of address and to continue addressing as time goes on as well. So it's clearly, even though 20 years ago all this great stuff has been developing, it's not an instantly solved project. So they're still working on that, and they mentioned providing compensation and review and restore lost pensions. So hopefully the majority of those cases are being addressed at the moment. Issue a full genuine apology on behalf of the nation. Do you kind of feel that someone who's gone through an experience like that, do you kind of feel, would you feel that as a heartfelt kind of apology, is as good
It's
as their
very
intentions are?
I think the whole intention of the review is absolutely fantastic, and it's
Mm,
something that anybody whose experience within the forces from 1967 till 2000, the fact that they were dishonorably discharged, or whether they were investigated, all these sort of things do need to come forward. And the fact that there's on about an apology, it's good because it's a recognition of what
yeah,
has actually happened. But do you know what? It's we are fighting about. We had to fight. Fighting with Pride did to get a review, and we've got a call for evidence going on at the moment. And we've got till the 15th of November. So it's been quite a short window to get all the evidence in. For some people, they might say, oh, I'm not going to bother. Nothing's ever going to happen about this. Well, actually, this is our moment. We need to seize it. We need to put the information in. And Fighting with Pride is there to help people to do that, whether they need help to write it, whether it needs to be done by video, audio, whichever way. But also as well, we need to be aware that when we're talking about these things, some people might not have talked about them for very many years. It was only till I started working with Fighting with Pride that I actually started talking about what had actually happened to myself.
Yeah.
And part of me did actually find it quite therapeutic. And it's only since being back, it's only since working with Fighting with Pride that I've actually felt that I've actually belonged back in the military family, because I'd actually put it all to one side.
Yeah.
I can't really stress enough how important it is for the evidence to be submitted. All the evidence will go before Lord Etherton, Casey now, and Lord Etherton is actually reading all the reports that are coming in. You don't have to have any evidence. You can do them anonymously. All these. We just need this evidence in so that we can look and put forward and to see what's going to happen. We've got people still who haven't got pensions.
Yeah.
Can you imagine all of a sudden, you've worked perhaps somewhere, however long you've worked there, and you haven't got a pension. You still haven't got a pension. You've got dishonorably discharged on your records. People won't employ you. Problems with accommodation. For those of you that have been in the forces, can you imagine one day literally you are in the forces and the next day you've been dishonorably discharged and you've literally been thrown outside the gates?
Yeah. It's
There is
incredible.
a scheme at the moment for medals that you can
Mm.
reclaim your medals back, but initially they were gone. And veterans as well couldn't approach the military charities at the time because they weren't
Wow.
classed as a veteran. So there's been a lot done since, and we are here to help and work with everybody. And we too need the evidence in.
Mm.
We've
Ru-
had Dame Kelly Holmes.
Yeah.
She was in the Sunday Mirror the Sunday just gone, and she's giving the call for evidence. And I'm also informed as well, although I haven't seen it yet, she was on Loose Women. So I know that you watched that, Chris. So you would have seen her on there. So Dame Kelly Holmes has been pushing for us as well. She's rallying the troops.
Mm.
She's calling for this evidence. This is our one shot,
Yeah.
and we really do need to take it. We need to get this evidence in.
Ruth, how would people best approach if they want to give evidence? Maybe not sure, but they're tempted. What's the best way for them to approach that and to get in touch and to submit that?
Right, okay. Well, I'm your veteran community worker for Wales, and I'll leave Chris my email details. So if you're in Wales, then you can contact me. We've got veteran community workers all over the country as well. But one of the things that you could do initially is to go on the Fighting with Pride website, and there's an information box there, info@fightingwithpride.org.uk, and you can ask for help there, and then you'll be allocated one of the veteran community workers from the area that you're in. You can also go and look actually on the LGBT Veterans Independent Review website, and there's information on there as well. We've also produced like an easy read document that we can send you that will help you with your questions as well.
Amazing.
So take your time on this as well. Initially, it can be very difficult. So whatever information you can actually put in is going to be helpful. And it's something we all need to do. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's something that we need to push forward. We need the evidence. Otherwise, we will be left behind even further. This is our chance now, and we need to grasp it fully.
Okay, fantastic. I will leave the email address that Ruth wants us to use in the description of the video and the podcast. So if you're watching this back or you're listening to it, just scroll down into the information section, and you'll find that link. You can hit that straight away. and send your details off, or your email, or a question. Even if you want to ask Ruth a question, she is very accommodating and she will answer for you. One of the questions that came in, Ruth, was, do you offer support to people outside of the UK?
Oh, right. That's a really good question. Do we offer support to outside the UK? If we've had veterans that have been serving in the UK forces but have moved abroad or are serving abroad, then yes, we definitely do. Because as I mentioned before, even though we're here to help and support those veterans that were involved and were dishonorably discharged because of the gay ban, we're also here to help and support the LGBT plus people who are serving in the military now and also their families. But if, for example, somebody was from Canada, USA, Sweden, we would be able to actually put them in contact with somebody that would be able to help them.
Amazing. So yeah, I think that's a really good sort of overview of what you need to get done, your mission statement. Is there anything else apart from the charities you want to talk about, Ruth? Is there any kind of success stories? Have we got any that we could talk about maybe?
Oh, do you know what? I'd really like, we have got so many success stories about people that we've engaged with,
Mm-hmm.
whether they are LGBT plus or not. It's the amount of people that we're actually getting the message out to about fighting with pride and what's actually happened to people. And when you have people that have commanded regiments that had no idea what was actually going on, it's interesting to know that people now are taking a more serious side of
Yeah.
what has actually happened to people. I think for myself personally, I won't give names, but I've made contact with quite a few veterans within Wales, and it's been great to just connect with them. And I find out actually that there's a lady that I actually met today. There was a launch of the LGBT plus Veterans Hub today at Cardiff Castle, which was excellent to attend. And there was a lady that attended there, and she's only down the road from me, so I'll be able to keep more in regular contact with her. So everybody is doing so much. All our different areas across the UK are so diverse. So what happens within a certain area here is would be different, perhaps up to Scotland or Northern Ireland. My wife is actually a veteran as well, and she's just been on a course today, and it's called Guitars for Veterans. So
Yes.
she gets to learn to play guitar, and so she just brought the guitar home. So that's my peace and quiet gone. But actually, do you know what? For people with mental health and everything, it's only in Wales, Wales, United States, and Canada.
Wow.
Guitars for Veterans. But there's all different things that are going on. There's all different agencies, for example, in Wales. There's cycling courses. There's cycling how to do maintenance as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's all projects to do with writing. There's art stuff to do. There's music. There are so many charities out there now that are able to help and support veterans.
Yeah.
And I'm
It's
so
amazing.
pleased to be able to put forward our LGBT plus veterans
Absolutely.
who who are so isolated because they've been shamed. And bearing in
Mm.
mind as well, quite a few people when they were outed in the forces weren't actually out to their families.
Wow.
So they've been like outed twice, and for some, their families have never accepted them.
Yeah, that's incredible,
So
isn't it?
they everybody has been dealing with such a lot.
Mm.
When I came out the forces, I came out before I was pushed out initially. I thought I'd better come out. But even coming out of the forces is a hard enough job role as it is,
I was
let
about to
alone
say that,
one.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard enough anyway when you lose people around you and you get used to civilian life. It can be extremely difficult anyway. But
Mm.
to literally to be thrown into something that you didn't want to go into. It's only very recently I've actually spoken to my parents and explained that I felt I had to get out the forces, not that I wanted to.
Yeah.
And we're talking like 30 years later that I'm actually telling them this. But that is what happened, because it's something that you felt you were shamed and you
Mm.
you couldn't discuss.
Right, that's incredible. I can't remember the person's name you mentioned at the start, but he was served either side of the ban, and it must be an incredible thing to see, and be invested in, see the difference and the things that are changing, and have a kind of a hand in helping those changes come into effect. But I'm sure there are so many stories out there that have not been told yet, and I hope this kind of message and your kind of hard work and the charity's hard work really brings those stories out to kind of get the support and the compensation that they need, you know. And it's a fantastic
Yeah.
thing you're doing.
There was it was in the newspapers about a month ago about a gentleman who was terminally ill, and he was in, I think he was in the Navy, and he wanted his husband, you know, to have his pension, but that isn't going to happen because
Mm,
at the moment nothing's happened. So you have all these people, they could have served like 15, 20 years,
yeah.
you know, and pension gone.
It's just
Even
it's crazy to think about, and as you mentioned rightly, that just coming out the service alone and adjusting to civilian life is rather hard. So to add in all of those elements, like you mentioned, dishonor would be discharge, lost your medals, lost your pension, lost the career that you kind of loved and were a
mm,
massive part of, and possibly your family as well. It's just a horrendous ordeal to imagine letting them go through as well. So I really hope that people sign up to this and to fight the case, and um, you know, it's going to make some difference, if not a lot of difference. So absolutely, if you're thinking about it, get in touch with Ruth, because it's
please.
obviously really important.
Yeah, we can support you all the way through, and not only when you've finished putting your review in, but we're here for you, and that's the whole idea as well, is getting to know people that are out there. We have a newsletter that comes out every month as well that you can sign up to on our website, and we also have what we call our town hall events, where they're like Zoom events. You don't have to have your camera on, you don't have to say anything, and we discuss certain issues. And
Hmm.
last month we had Lord Etherton on, and he was answering all questions about the review, and he's looking to come back again. So these are all relevant things that you can start to get involved with, and you will make that difference. And we're here to help and support you with that. We'll make that big difference together. We can do it together.
Amazing. uh, Ruth, I think that's a great message to finish up on, and I think for everyone that's watching this that may be affected, obviously reach out to us if you've got questions, and use the service that Ruth has got there through the link in the description. But of course, you know, any sort of conversation is going to be good to relieve the kind of pressure that you're feeling at the time, if you haven't got to that stage yet. But starting that conversation is the first step if you haven't gone down that route yet. So please, even if it's just talking to me, the writing community chat show at gmail.com, I'm happy to have a conversation with you and pass on to Ruth if need be. So Ruth, all I can say is thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us, and thank you to Fighting for Pride, which obviously Fighting with Pride, the book that's up there, I'll leave a link for that as well, because obviously that's going to support the charity.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I would really like to say a heartfelt thank you to Chris for allowing me to speak. And thank you all so much. We're here for you, fighting with pride, proud to have served. And that's who we are.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much. I'll just about be finishing my walk the next few days, so I'm
Good
sure
luck.
I'll come back. Thank you. I'll be coming back and seeing some wonderful comments from this, I'm sure. So again, thank you for tuning in, and look after yourselves, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.